Share screen. Thank you everyone for coming on. So what we're going to try to do today is do a very, very condensed version of our sales training. For those of you that have gone through our sales training, you know it's about 4 days, and we got one coming next week of 12 to 14 hours. So this is going to be a basic, just quick version for the next hour and a half or so, however long it takes us. And the goal of this presentation is to get us to be able to at least help out in the next couple of weeks with Meet the Teachers. Essentially what Meet the Teachers are, if you don't have kids, the week before school starts, schools put together a specific time and date where parents and their children get to go to the school and meet their teachers. And so you go to their classroom, you get to see the teacher, meet them, talk about curriculum, et cetera, et cetera. That is a good opportunity for us to do some marketing and to get some students immediately right with that back to school rush, because they will let us set up outside the school or in the cafeteria. Different schools do different things. And so we need a lot of help because most of them happen on the same 2 or 3 days right before school starts. So we're going to pretty much need all hands on deck. You know, 2 people per school, and sometimes we may have 2 or 3 schools going on. So we got to get you guys to the point where you're comfortable talking about the program, presenting the program, and that's what our goal is for today. All right. So has everybody seen this? All right. Has anyone not seen this? Raise your hands. Okay. All right. Can you guys hear me? Everybody can hear me good? Raise your hand if you can hear me. All right. Dr. Phillips, can you hear me? Okay. All right, cool. All right, so this presentation, or this here is how we keep track of our leads. You should have many of these with you when you go, and it's our lead intake sheet, as well as a reminder on what process to follow when you're talking to someone about the program. All right, so this breaks down to very simply math, since that's what we sell, is math programs. The M is going to be to make them feel comfortable, and we'll talk about the details of that. Yes, sir?
For some reason, your screen's not loading for us up here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, same here.
There it is.
There it is, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, okay.
Is it on?
It was, but went off.
All right, so we'll keep it small on the smaller screen like this, and you guys will just have to zoom in. Okay, so make them feel comfortable is essentially make them feel comfortable, right? And so we'll talk about the details of that, but whenever you're speaking to someone, you know, basic human interaction when you first meet someone, you got to smile, you're going to introduce yourself, and so we'll go over the details of that in a minute. A is for asking questions. And so everything that we do at Mathnasium is customized for each student based on their specific needs and goals. And so we can't customize anything if we don't know anything about that student. And so we're going to talk about some questions to clarify what we need from that student. All right. Tailoring your response, again, so that's really important. And you're going to tailor your response about our program based on what that parent tells you. If that parent tells you they have a second grader, you're not going to talk about SATs, right? And if they tell you they have a 10th grader, we're not going to talk about finger counting and numerical fluency, right? So we need to know what we're talking to the parent about, whatever it is, numerical fluency, finger counting, multiplication, pre-algebra, algebra. There's many grades, many topics, many subjects. And so what tailor your response means is really once you find out part 2 about the actual student, you're going to tailor your response to that. All right. And then, of course, have them come in. Have them come in is the most important part of this. And so whether we schedule an assessment or a free trial or actually get the sign up, one of those things is what we're shooting for. Okay. So we are at the Meet the Teachers. We're transitioning to a brand new program where we're going to give everybody now moving forward a complimentary assessment. So we used to charge for our assessment. We're now going to give everyone a complimentary assessment. And then they're going to, if they choose to enroll, pay an enrollment fee and, you know, their program proration fee. So it's just a different way of doing it. The way we're doing it is the reason we're doing it this way is because it's going to open up, it's going to get us a lot more assessments. And when parents come in and actually see the results of their students' assessments, it's usually very much an eye-opener, right? As we all know, grades in school mean one thing, but actual mastery of skills is a completely different thing. And so parents usually, once they see the grades, it's a completely different story. Besides that, we want to remove the barrier of any financial decisions before they come in and meet us. We are great at what we do. This is our passion. You are all part of this incredible team that, you know, manages all these mathnasiums and help thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of kids all throughout the world in 14 countries. And we pick our employees very wisely and we train them very well. And so we want to be able to showcase that. I'm proud of having parents come into my center. I'm proud of the way our center looks and the way it's set up and the way the curriculum works. You should be very proud also. And you want an opportunity to showcase that. And so we don't want to put a barrier of, okay, here, you know, I have to pay $149 just to come into the center to talk to them. We want to remove that barrier, and then it's up to us to tell them all about the program and convince them that they need to enroll. All right? So first thing we're going to do is make them feel comfortable. Sales is about making a connection. So the first thing you really, really always want to do is make them feel welcome. One of the easiest things you could do to make them feel welcome is to smile. So let's all practice. Smile. I don't see everyone smiling. Sal, there it is. Good job. All right, cool. So do we understand how easy it is to disarm someone when you smile? I don't see everyone on screen. I only see the first 4 people, so it's not allowing me to see everybody else. So I can't tell if everybody else is practicing their smiles. Weston, are we all smiling, Weston? Yeah, smile? All right, good. Okay, so the reason why we smile is it's very disarming. And so you should use that in every facet of your life. You first meet your teachers, you first meet a friend, you first meet someone you're interested in dating. You know, a smile is usually going to break the ice, if to use a different word, okay? Once we do that, we want to introduce ourselves in position, right? And so you're going to smile, and then you're going to say, hello, I'm Mo. I'm the center director here at Mathnasium of. How can I help you today? All right. So let's practice that with the person that you're with. If not, you can go ahead and start unmuting, and I'm going to start just asking you guys all to practice real quick, okay? All right. So smile. Hello. How are you today? And then introduce yourself in position. Now you got some practice. Does everybody have a partner there, or? Just practice with me.
Will you be my partner?
Hmm?
Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm the center director at Waterford.
All right, you there, Allison? Can you hear me? Allison?
Oh, hi, I'm Allison. Nice to meet you. I'm the lead instructor at Mathnasium of Waterford Lakes.
Great. How can I help you today? Or, you know, what can I do for you today?
How can I help you today?
Great. Perfect. Now, another thing I want to remind everyone here is I usually like to ask how people are doing. So, hi, how are you today? Okay. That's not on here. We probably should put it on here. But that's one of the easiest things also to disarm someone, right? And how are you today? But then give them an opportunity to answer. So one of the biggest mistakes people make is, hi, how are you today? How can I help you? What did I just do there? Did I give you an opportunity to answer the first question? No. Hi, how are you today? How can I help you? And you're like, person's like, well, oh yeah, I'm looking for some math help, or, you know, I need to find out more about your program. Okay, so give an opportunity, pause for a few seconds. How are you today? Great, great. And then it's going to give you hopefully an opportunity to talk. Oh man, it's hot out today. Oh, I know, I can't believe how hot it is in Florida. It'll give you an opportunity to connect with that person for a few seconds, all right? So let's do that, and then you're going to ask how you can help them and introduce yourself. All right. Now, usually you're going to hear something like, oh, I want to know more about your program. Or, yeah, what do you guys do? Or, you know, if it's on the phone, hey, I need to get some more program information from you. Whatever it is, you normally want to agree and acknowledge the request and affirm that you're going to be able to help them. So let's practice that. Jessica, so I'm looking for some program information.
Where's the raffle jar?
Well, what would you like to know? What grade is your child in? How can we help?
Well, so right before we jump into that, let's just affirm that we can help them. So, oh, we can definitely help you with that. I would, you know, and then go into it, right? So I can help you with that. Oh, I should definitely could provide you with some program for it. You came to the right place. You know, math is what we do. So anything along those lines of knowledge. All right, so let's practice one more time.
Oh, we can definitely help you with that. What does your child struggle with? What grade are they in?
Great. All right. Weston, you guys practicing with each other? I need some program information, or hey, I'm looking for someone to help me out with who doesn't have a partner. Oren, I'm looking for some program information.
You're looking for program information. We can help you with that. Can you tell me what your name is?
Great. So he acknowledged. I can definitely help you with that. All right. So we understand what acknowledging, agreeing that you can help him with that before we move on to the next part, right? Perfect. All right. So get them to fill out a lead form. So if they're in person, obviously you're going to take your lead form out and fill out that beginning part. Okay. So the best thing I do with this is give them a couple of seconds, guys. So you put the lead form in front of them. Say, oh, if I may just get you to log in, if you're in person walking into your center, if I may get you to check in, some basic information from you real quick, I'll get that information packet and I'll be right back.
Read from, and I take down the information on there.
Which is the lead form he's talking about, like giving to people to have them fill out.
This one?
The enter to win, or the
right here. This one.
So we fill out this for them? Okay.
You can hand it to them, you know, parent name, email, phone number, or you can say, hey, if I can get some basic information from you, and any of the above.
Okay.
So in person, we have our sign-up sheet. Does everybody know where their sign-up sheet is up front in the lobby? Their check-in sheet, I think we call it now. So in person, you're going to say, oh, great, I can definitely help you with that. If I can get you to put, you know, check in for me. At one of these Meet the Teachers, yeah, you could probably say, oh, if I may get some basic information from you real quick, and I'll be right back. Even if you walk away 2 feet from them, it's really uncomfortable to sit there and watch them while they're filling this out. So just give them a couple seconds, a couple of feet of separation. Go grab a parent pack and come right back. All right. Any questions so far? No? Okay. Sure. Ask now. I don't want to go too quick. All right, cool. All right, so that's making them feel comfortable. So remember, in conclusion, smile. Ask how they are doing today. And then ask how they're doing. What you could do for them. Introduce yourself and affirm that you could do this. All right, who wants to practice the full thing now? All right, I'm gonna do the full thing. Who wants to be my customer? And then somebody else. If you guys don't start volunteering, I'm just gonna pick. Oren, you wanna be my customer?
Sure.
Hi, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing fine. What is your business really about? I heard you have something to do with helping kids with math.
Well, I definitely could provide you some information for that. I'm Mo. I'm the center director here at Mathnasium with Dr. Phillips, and I will definitely be able to answer those questions for you. All right. Simple. And then I'm going to hopefully, at this point, fill out the depending on where we are, if we're in person, I'm going to get that information from them. All right. So let's try them separately. So let's try on the phone. Hello, this is Mo Khalil calling from, hello, this is Mo. Thanks for choosing Mathnasium. How can I help you today?
Oh, well, I was having some trouble with my kid from the math that they're doing at school. I can't help them with their homework anymore. It's well beyond me, and I was trying to find somebody who can help me with the solution to this.
Great. I will definitely, I definitely can help you with that. I'm Mo. I'm the center director here, and you are?
My name's Oren.
Great, Oren. And then can you tell me a little bit about your student, a little bit about what's going on? Okay.
Yeah.
So you see there, I got a little bit on the phone. You definitely don't want to go into grilling the parent, name, phone number, email address. On the phone, we're going to sprinkle those questions throughout the conversation. Okay. In person, it's very easy to get them to do that. And so we're going to do that by putting it in front of them and walking away. So you don't want to pepper. Has anybody been on the phone to get their bank balance? And the first thing you call, either like bombarding you with questions, and after the fifth or sixth question, whether even if it's on, the entering it by phone, by touchtone, it's still just annoying. You're just, they ask you 6 questions and all you're trying to do is get a simple thing. So we don't want to do the same thing. We don't want to be like, what's your first name? What's your last name? What's the kid's name? What's the kid's grade? None of that stuff is important right then and there. You're going to get that information in discovery in the next part. So the most important thing is maybe get a name of the person that you're dealing with. So on the phone, my name is Mo. I could definitely help you with that. I affirm. And you are? So even the way I asked that question about their name is a lot easier, a lot softer than saying, and what is your name? Right? So we only have a few questions to ask before we bother people and get under their skin. So try to use them wisely to get the really important stuff, which is how their students are doing. Okay? So, all right, where are we? Give me a second here. Okay. All right, so now we're in what we call discovery, okay? So discovery is getting to know more information about them, because remember, we are going to try to, what is this? All right, hopefully that'll stop. Okay, so the most important question that you want to ask in discovery, does everybody know the difference between an open-ended question and a closed-ended question? And please feel free to unmute and let me know.
A closed-ended question is one that they can just answer yes or no or something like that. We want to get information out of them, so we want it to be open-ended. So they need to explain something to us a little bit.
Good. And so remember, we have a few select questions that before we bother the client in front of us. And so let me ask you, what is your son's name? What is your grade? What school do they go to? Is there an easier way to find all that information out? Sal, I see you shaking your head. How can we find out about all that stuff in one question, maybe?
Tell me about your kid.
Perfect. And so this is why you're going to see up here, tell me about, right? So tell me about your situation. Tell me about your child. Tell me about, right? Tell me about Johnny. Tell me about, so parents love to talk about their children. I do. Everybody else does. Oren will tell you. We're very proud of our children and we want to talk about them. And so when you tell me to tell you, I'm going to tell you an entire story. And normally, for those who have done this for a while, what are you going to get in that first conversation, Sal?
Pretty much everything. Pretty much covers all the bases when you ask that one question. So
yep, it's going to give you a couple of sentences, right?
Yeah, I mean, the history of the child, and from there you can figure out how they're doing based on grades. And if not, you ask those questions as well. You just add on to the conversation. And it's just a conversation. It's not really a list of questions once you start with that question. So
Exactly. Then you're just really interested to know more about them, right? So I'm going to say, tell me about your son. Oh, yeah. Well, so my son is, sometimes they'll say the name, sometimes they won't. The name is not important. In the second grade or third grade, we've been struggling a little bit here. And so I'm just kind of coming to find out, what it is that you guys do. All right. So what do we find out so far? We found out a third grader. We found out it's a son. And we found out they're struggling. Okay. The main part of this is to find out more about that person. But at the end of this discovery, there's two paths you want to take. You want to take the enrichment path, or you want to take the remedial path. Okay. Because are we going to talk about a parent whose son is 3 years advanced about remedial stuff? Is homework help in the 10 minutes going to matter to that parent for 10 minutes at the end of every session when the kid's in 2 or 3 years ahead? Right? So this is when we tell our response. So it's really, really, really important to find out more information so we're not wasting that parent's time. There are kids enrichment and you're talking about remedial. Guess what? You've lost that parent. At the end of the conversation, they're going to get up and say, oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Because you didn't say anything about enrichment or moving ahead. All you did was about catching up, and they think you don't even do enrichment because all you did was talk about that. So, okay, so they have always struggled. So these are some of the things that we're going to see. I've always struggled. Homework's so hard. We fight all the time. Things were fine until, we heard that before, things were fine until the 7th grade. Things were completely okay until we hit the 4th grade in long division. Okay? He or she hates math or loves math. Too busy to help him or her. Doesn't do well on tests. Homework, is okay. We get through. It's difficult, but come test time, we just do so poorly. Right? We've tried all the tutoring in the past. Nothing's worked. SAT, ACT, or any state exam prep. Hey, we want to prepare for SATs. We want to prepare for, FSAs, whatever it is. All right? My child is homeschooled. I can't help him anymore. We're homeschooled, and we just need some extra support, something along those lines. All right? Poor state exams. Doesn't like the teacher. When we hear that, Jessica, you're a teacher, when they say they don't really like the teacher, they don't get along, what does that usually mean? Oh, we can't hear you. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is that better?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Usually it's because they don't like the subject, or they are behind and they're struggling and they're not confident, and so they just have to find something to blame. If they're not getting it, it's not clicking, then they think it's the teacher's fault.
It's they're all excuses. So exactly, right on.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like the teacher. They don't get along with the teacher. It's because something is still there. So excuse me for 1 second, guys. I gotta figure out how to turn this off. Isn't there like an offline thing here that I can do? Does anybody use this on their Mac? All right, let's see if that'll stop it. Sorry. Okay, so yeah, that's just another excuse basically for struggling. Okay, or we're going to hear things like enrichment. We want to get ahead. They're bored in school because they finish their homework so fast. frustrated. Another one is just changed schools. We just changed schools, we just moved here, and so, we want to make sure we haven't missed anything, or I think we're missing some major, basic skills here because we moved from so-and-so down here. So those are some of just the most common things you're going to hear. We're concerned about Common Core. What else? Have you guys heard anything else that we would need to add on here? Yeah, no? Any questions so far? Okay, so we're going to ask some follow-up questions. So the initial open-ended question here is going to be, tell me about your son or daughter. So we're going to hopefully get grade, gender, and reason for visit without having to specifically ask. But from there, we want to follow up a little bit more, okay? So let's take turns. Everybody jump in randomly. What can we ask? And then we'll talk about, is it in this situation where it's a third grader, we've always struggled a little bit. Here are some of the follow-up questions. How has math been before this year? Okay, so they're telling you they're struggling in the third grade. Is that enough? Do we want to know a little bit more? What are we trying to identify here?
Well, one of the things we want to try to identify is when the struggle began. Did they never even master any of the number sense? It's the numerical fluency. When have they struggled in the second grade, the first grade? Has it been a problem all along?
Exactly. We're trying to identify, have we just started finger counting? Have we always struggled? The reason why it's important is because we want to talk about foundational skills, right, guys? Is it just a topic that they're having a little bit of trouble with that one private lesson is going to solve? Well, those are very rare, right? But we want to know those things because it may be. Remember, we're trying to customize a solution. So if it's a couple of private sessions for a calculus 1 or 2 student, we want to know that. Or if they're a third or a seventh grader and have struggled for a couple of years, well, we want to know that because we want to tell them about a program and set proper expectations that nothing is going to be solved overnight. Okay? So what about how they feel about math? Can anyone tell me why this is important?
Well, I think one of the biggest reasons it's important is when we sit that child down in here and start to work with them, if they've already got it in their mind that they hate math, one of the things we need to do is try to figure out a way to make it fun for them, to change their attitude about it. And so we need to find out up front, are we dealing with a hostile situation or are we dealing with a friendly situation?
That's perfect, Oren. Thank you. Hey, guys, we need to start hearing from everybody or I'm going to start picking on you. So please feel free to jump in at any time. We need contribution from everyone. Everybody needs to be involved. So if you want to unmute now, go ahead. I don't want to start picking on people, but we need contribution from everyone. Everyone needs to be engaged. So thank you, Oren. So that is exactly right. Are we dealing with a hostile situation? Are we going to have to overcome some attitude adjustments? Is that person going to be coming in with the, I hate math, I don't want to talk to you, you're just like everybody else, right? So it's kind of important just so you can set someone up, because imagine you being on the other end of that assessment now. So Oren sets up the initial assessment, but doesn't put any of those things in the notes. And then Sal now has to do the assessment when that first person comes in, and they don't know any of these things. It just makes their job a little bit more difficult, right? We've all been in those situations. You want to be prepared. You want to read those Salesforce notes and know exactly what's walking in through the door, right? And the only way that's going to happen is by that person that initially set up the assessment leaving very, very detailed notes, so everybody's on the same page and you know who's walking into your center, right? What class are they taking? Can anyone tell me why that's important above the 6th grade?
Just knowing the past knowledge, if they're good enough on their past skills, if they're in a certain class, like if they're in geometry, if they're good with their algebra skills, things like that.
Good, because, is it just by grade specifics after the 6th grade, guys? 7th grade, it could be anything, right? It could be algebra 1, pre-algebra, advanced, remedial, anything past 5th, 6th grade, we need to know. Is it, they got retained last year and they're repeating it? In Florida, they'll give you 2 classes sometimes, your pre-algebra and your remedial class. So we want to know all of those things because that is going to be a huge part in what we talk about when we're talking about that parent. Okay. Now, what do we want to identify most of the time for 4th graders?
Isn't it fractions, decimals, percents?
For 4th grader, what is the typical example for a 3rd, 4th grader?
I guess multiplication, and a little bit of division.
But what is what are we trying to identify? What is it that most of our 3rd or 4th graders have trouble with really when they come in?
Maybe some finger counting and.
Yep. That is actually probably most of our students. In our experience, 3rd and 4th graders coming in that are having trouble, what do you think, Allison? It's just like you said, it's multiplication, division. But what is it really, the underlying skills? Why is it that they never really master their multiplication facts?
That's because they're still finger counting. They don't get the grouping.
So that's a pretty classic example. And most, I would say, of our 3rd and 4th graders are in that situation. Look, we've tried everything. We just can't do multiplication. We can't do division. Of course, now they're getting into fractions, decimals, and wholes and parts, and it's just foreign to them because somehow they moved along and they're uncomfortable with numbers, right? They're still kind of finger counting. So people that are still finger counting, students that are still finger counting, really don't know the powers of tens. They don't know tens. They don't know groups. They don't know large numbers. They can't visualize them. And so because they're still attached to their fingers. So we want to identify that. But why is it that, is your student still finger counting a bad question?
It's got a negative connotation towards it. So it's not something you want to just ask outright. You want to try and get it from an inference.
Perfect. So yes, parents are very proud. We just talked about how Oren and I are very proud of our children, and we take it as a knock if, subconsciously, you start talking about finger counting in the 3rd and 4th grade, and now all of a sudden we feel very ashamed or embarrassed of our children not having mastered those skills kindergarten or 1st grade, right? So yes, and it will have a very negative connotation. But there's also another thing. What about those students that aren't really truly using the fingers? Is there different forms of finger counting?
There's like the nodding in the head, and then also the little tally marks on paper.
Yep, exactly. So those are all things, right? What if the parent doesn't realize that? Who's the expert? Are we the expert or are they the expert? Right. So we know what we mean when we mean finger counting because it means all those things, but the parent may not. So a good question that I want to ask here is, how are their math facts? Okay. So math facts is going to cover, for that 3rd, 4th grader, multiplication, addition, subtraction, right? Or another way I'm going to ask is, especially when they say, okay, how are their math facts? They're going to say, most of the multiplication ones we've got, but some of the harder ones we don't. Well, we all know that is exactly what that means, right? Most people master 1, 2, 5, 10, and then most of the 6, 7, 8, 9, but the most difficult ones, they just don't know. There's no way, right? Okay, and we all know that multiplication is adding in groups. And so I want to know if that student's still not able to master 9 plus 6, 9 plus 5, 8 plus 6 very fast. Well, imagine how difficult it is when we teach them, 6 groups of 8 is, and how to break it up, right? 4 groups and then 4 more groups and then we add them together. I mean, that person is just not capable of doing that because they're not comfortable with ones and tens and powers of tens and being able to do so. So I'm going to ask something like this. Let me ask you a question. If I asked Johnny what 9 plus 5 is, how fast would they get the answer? What do you think about that, phrasing it that way? Is that a little bit better? Jessica, you're muted again.
Sorry, I think there's something going on with the speaker itself. It keeps flashing on and off. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Maybe
I don't know why, sorry. I think that way it's a lot more open-ended for them to give you more information about, well, sometimes it takes them longer to say it if I notice them like tapping their fingers, or otherwise they could tell you, oh no, they can get that right away. And it leaves it more open-ended, not like, oh, well, I'm ashamed because my child doesn't know how to do this without going like this.
Yep. That's exactly what that means. So, and then you're right, maybe 9 plus 5, they actually mastered that one because they're, it's 10 plus 5. So, but maybe that, and so I might still follow up again and say, okay, so they know all their doubles, all their basic addition, subtraction is all, super fast. And they're going to say, oh, no. It's just those, are easy, 9, 0, because they realize it's close to 10. But once you start asking things like 8 plus 5 or, 6 plus 7, those are really, not very easy for them. So that's another way that we can ask some of those questions, okay? Another question can be, how are the state exams been? So now they're called FSAs or FCATs, right? So if it's a 4th or 5th grader, we all know we start taking our first FCAT, FSA in the 3rd grade, right? So obviously if it's a 1st or 2nd grader, we don't want to ask that. Or someone in the 3rd grade, they've never taken one, okay? So a 4th or 5th grader, we're going to ask, or a 7th or an 8th or 9th grader, hey, how have we done in the past? Does everybody know what the state exam for the older students are called? Algebra, Algebra 2, geometry.
Is it EOC?
Yep. EOC. So how have we done on our EOCs? Why is this question important? And does everybody know what EOC is? Weston? Hold on, and unmute you guys. All right, go for it.
End of course exams, right?
Yes. Why are those important to find out about? Do we all know how those work?
I think they're on the computer, right? They're on the computer.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you guys. So end of course exams are given in algebra, geometry, and algebra 2. And actually everything now, pre-calculus, so on and so forth. So you are not allowed to graduate without passing those EOC exams. Okay? Those EOC exams test your actual fluency, your actual mastery of skills. So can a situation occur where they get B's on their Algebra 1 all year, get right through, no problem, and then not pass their EOC?
Absolutely.
Have we all had it happen many times? I've seen it many times happen. So what does that mean? What does that mean to you guys?
It means at some point they didn't actually master something. They learned it and then they forgot it after a test.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. They went all year, all along. And did you want to say something? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to reinforce the idea. They instead of actually understanding the concepts, they just memorize the procedure and just base it off that.
Yep. And what other factors contribute to people's grades?
Well, they have things where they are able to get extra credit by redoing stuff, and if they just keep doing it and get more and more points, eventually they finish the class, but they haven't really learned anything.
Exactly. So teachers allow students to take home and get their exams regraded now. Yep. So some teachers will give you your 50 to take back home, get it fix your mistakes, and get 50% of the points you missed back. So they get back 25 points. We do the math, right? So now that 50 is a 75. Homework is now sometimes graded based on just your effort that you've tried it, not whether it's correct or not. And so now they may get an A on their homework part of it, right? Class participation, attendance. You start adding all that stuff up, and that person gets out of algebra or gets to algebra with a B, even though they're getting 50s on their tests, and then they get to that EOC exam and they fail it, and now they can't graduate, right? Now, another reason is, do you think all parents are involved in their children's education? Do you think all parents know what EOCs are? Do you think all parents know that, hey, my kid's not going to graduate without that EOC? Okay. And whose job is it to educate parents about everything math-based that happens in our community?
We are.
We're supposed to be the experts. We are trained. We know what we're doing. So it's our job to explain those things, right? So a parent may think because they looked at the report card and their son and daughter has B's Everything is great. Maybe their kid doesn't tell them about these EOCs and the EOC grades. And then 12th grade comes and they don't graduate because they now have gotten out of algebra, algebra 2 geometry, and they have 3 years worth of EOCs. They haven't seen algebra in 4 years now. And guess where they're coming to try to pass 3 EOCs in 3 months before they graduate, or 6 months before they graduate, right? So we want to avoid those situations, guys. So we want to try to advise our parents. And so it's really important to know about our EOCs, our FSAs. And so you just want to ask these things. And these things will come with experience and doing more of these trainings with us here, okay? So I definitely want to find out about EOC as soon as I hear anything algebra and higher. And then if they say I don't know, you need to know in your notes, they don't know about EOC, get answer. And you need to let them know, well, you need to kind of find out about this EOC because it's really critical. Let me just tell you briefly how it works, and you tell them how it works. Look, they could have gotten out of the class with A's and B's, but if they don't pass those EOCs, they can't graduate. So let's, pin that and put a note and make sure we get us the answer to that. All right? Okay, so discover until you get what you need. So can we briefly go over now some of the things? So basically the goal, again, is to get enough points to tailor your response to. But at the end of the day, what is our ultimate goal? Can anyone tell me which direction we're going to now?
To sign the kid up.
But which pitch are we going to take? There's 2 different pitches, right? So there's the
enrichment or building your skills up.
Yep. Remedial. Okay, so that's what we need to, at the end of the day, get to understand, because there's complete different talking points. All right. So next, we're going to practice. So if we can just take a quick minute, if you have someone there with you to practice with, who doesn't have someone there? All right, why don't we do it? Who wants to volunteer to do the discovery part? And I'll play the customer. Someone we haven't heard from before. Volunteer, or am I choosing?
Who's volunteering for what?
Just this part, to do the discovery. And not you, Caitlin. Thanks.
I tried.
Wait, so what is he?
Not you, Kyle. Someone who hasn't done it before. All right, I'm picking Ronaldo. Let's go. All right, so we're going to take over the discovery part.
All right, sorry about that.
No problem. All right, so remember, the first part is to make them feel comfortable. So assuming we've done that, we are now at the discovery. And how do we just start all discovery, or asking them the questions?
All right, so tell me more about your son.
Great. Yeah, my son is in the 4th grade. Great kid, does great reading, writing, he does swimming, he's very busy, very hard worker. Probably reads on 6th grade level reading, but math is just, it's an issue. We're struggling this year.
And how is the struggling a recent thing, or has it been always like that?
It's definitely been a while. It's always, he started reading at like 5 years old, but we couldn't really get past our counting. So it's kind of always been there.
Right. So how are his math facts, multiplication, addition, things like that?
So he knows most of his multiplication for sure. He's pretty slow on some of them.
Okay. And if I were to ask him a question like, what's 9 plus 5, how quickly do you think he'd be able to answer that?
Perfect, great. That was awesome. We can stop right here. I can obviously tell Ray's done this before. So great job, Ronaldo. That was awesome. So I even when he asked about the facts, I didn't really give it to him. I didn't say finger counting, and he kept following up, right? And his demeanor and tone is not investigative. where he's doing it like a drill sergeant, right? So it's very important about the tone. He came off like he cared. And let me ask you something. So it's all about the tone, guys. You remember, I don't know what the exact percent is, but if you've ever taken a communication course, they tell you that most of communication is not actual speaking. It's all the tone and your face and what it looks like. All right. So, good. All right. Let's do maybe one more older one. Who wants to volunteer to do an older one? Allison?
Hi, can you tell me a little bit more about your student?
Yeah, I have my daughter. She's in the 8th grade, and we're having some trouble this year.
Oh, okay. So has this always been a struggle for her?
No, over the last couple of years, she's fine really through, I would say, probably 6th grade. And then all of a sudden, the last couple of years, it just gotten really tough.
Okay. How have her FSA exams been? Like, how have her scores been?
She did great through the 6th grade, but I don't actually really know about the last couple of years. What are FSAs?
FSAs.
It's the Florida standards, the new name for FCATs. So whenever you use it, people don't know the name. You might want to say like
So it's the same exact thing as FCAT?
It's just for the Common Core now. That's what they call it for the Common Core since we started Common Core last year.
What does it stand for?
Florida Standard Assessment. Florida Standard Assessment. So it's no longer, remember the Common Core had the negative connotation associated with it. And so it's still Common Core, but they called it Florida Standards. And then that's the assessment of it. So instead of FCAT, it's now called Florida Standards Assessment. Cool. Good job, Allison. Allison, what could we have asked that was really, really important here since I said 8th grade?
8th grade. Maybe Algebra 1 skills?
Well, do we know what class I'm in? Is it Algebra 1?
What class are you in? Okay.
Because that's really, really important. Because if I said, oh, she's in pre-algebra, what does 8th grade pre-algebra tell you guys?
Remedial.
Right. Do we all know why?
I think they can take Algebra 1 in 7th grade now, right?
As early as 7th grade, exactly. So if you're ahead, you could take Algebra 1 and you do, advanced math, which is not really pre-algebra. You could do it in the 7th grade or the 8th grade. But the absolute latest you could do Algebra 1 is the 9th grade. So that tells me if someone's in 8th grade pre-algebra, that they've probably struggled for a really long time and are the absolute or the earliest that they could take Algebra 1 is in the 9th grade. Or I really need to clarify. Now, another follow-up question for you guys here in Orange County. You remember we flip-flopped a couple times in the last couple of years in Orange County. It used to be Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2. Then they flipped it a couple years ago and said, no, we're going to do Algebra 2 immediately after. And then this year, we're changing it again, back. So we're going to Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2. So it's really important. You can't assume anything, right? So they tell you we're in 8th grade Geometry. Who knows? Maybe they did 7th grade Algebra, 8th grade Algebra 2. Now they're like, so you got to ask. So what have we done and what have we not done? Okay, what have we completed and how are the ELCs? Okay, Broward County, do we know in Broward what your order is?
Yeah, it's the Algebra 1 and then Geometry, and that's followed by Algebra 2.
And then Algebra 2, perfect. Okay, yeah. So it's really, really important to know those things, right? So if they tell you they're in 8th grade Geometry, you kind of already know they took 7th grade Algebra, and then you're going to ask, how do we do an Algebra 1? Same with you, Allison. Had I said Geometry or Algebra 2, you want to know what I did the year before or over the last couple of years. How do we do on ELCs? Cool. Any questions so far in asking basic questions in the discovery part?
So when does EOC start?
With Algebra 1.
Algebra 1. Okay.
So with first through pre-algebra, it's either FCAT/FSA, whatever, those standards are. And then EOCs start with algebra 1 and higher.
Caitlin's talked to me about pitches and stuff, and she's talked about like algebra too early. When is algebra too early?
Come in? Good.
Hmm?
That's a great question. So we have 3 basic classic examples, okay? So what are my classic examples? 3rd, 4th grader has now finally hit long division, fractions, super struggling. They're probably still finger counting and have kind of coasted along until now. So that's a classic example. That's probably a third of our centers, guys, if you've noticed or not. A third of our centers probably filled with finger counters, okay? Classic example number 2 is algebra too soon. Can anybody tell me what algebra too soon is?
They got into algebra too quickly, so their basic skills are not all there yet, so their foundational skills aren't secure, and they're struggling because of that.
Exactly. So algebra too soon means in the 6th grade, they took an FCAT or an FSA, or in the 5th grade. The 5th grade, they did pretty decent on their FCAT. So they put them in what they call advanced math. Advanced math is not pre-algebra. It's, the computational part of pre-algebra. And so it's very fast. And then they do pretty decent again on that computational part in advanced math. And then they take them and put them in algebra 1. Algebra 1 honors in the 7th grade. Okay? But what is the prerequisite for algebra 1?
It's pre-algebra.
Pre-algebra. And there was no pre-algebra here. So that's what we call algebra 1 too soon. You give that student your 7 with computation, and the likelihood is probably very high that they score about 35-40% on 7 and somewhere in the 50% range on your computation. And all the mistakes are in fractions, decimals, percents, integers, all of, greatest common factor, least common multiple, all the most common mistakes in algebra that are being made. And that's because they moved way too fast, because they skipped essentially 2 grades by doing it in the 7th grade, or condensed 2 years worth of pre-algebra into an advanced level math course in the 6th grade. So great question. So that's the algebra too soon, and we're going to talk about that. So in that case, Allison, that's probably where I was headed with this. Had we clarified a little more, that was going to be the algebra too soon example. I was going to say geometry, which means I did algebra in the 7th grade, and then everything was great. With this student, usually everything was fine. They're super advanced, actually, incredible. Their favorite subject's probably math through 5th and 6th grade, and then they go into algebra 1, start struggling a bit, and now they're in geometry as what, 8th grader, 13, 14 years old, or algebra 2. And it's just they're not developmentally ready. Their foundational skills aren't there. And we've all met those very bright students that we probably, turn around pretty quickly. Within 6 months, those kids are, smiling again usually, and are succeeding again because they just go back and fill in those foundational gaps. So great example. And then the 3rd example is your traditional high schooler, somewhere in that, again, 9th, 10th, 11th grade, and is struggling now. And most of the time, it's their algebra skills that are lacking. All right. So those 3 examples probably, I would say, make up 75-80% of our kids. Great. All right. So we've now it's time to tailor our response, right? So that's the T of math. And this is why it was very, very important to find out all those other things before, so we know exactly how to speak to the parent. All right. So tailor your response. Okay, so tailoring your response. Every time we go to tailoring our response, this is where we want to start. First, I usually ask, how much do you know about us? Okay, and the reason that I ask that question, you see at the top, is I just want to know, how much do they know about us? Is it, have they had another child go through our program? Were they referred to us? I just want to know, because that's our lead source also, right? I just drove by, I don't know anything. And so from there, I then want to also always, this is why it's number one. And when we test you later on, months down the line, about your pitch, the most important thing to remember is you have to start with math is sequential, foundational skills. Okay? So any way you explain it, if you don't start here with this topic and explain what Mathnasium does, then you're completely missing the boat of why you work here or why we do what we do. What is it that we do? Please feel free to share. Do we have the words tutoring in our name? Are we the Math Tutoring Center?
We make math make sense.
Good. How?
By teaching it in the proper order.
Teaching math in a sequential way, right? In identifying gaps and attacking those gaps. This is different, guys. Most parents, our competition does not do that. Most of our competition does the Band-Aid thing. That's what tutoring is. Tutoring is a Band-Aid. We do not do that. If you get that 4th grade example, when the kids got a long division test the next day, and you sell them a 5-pack of private lessons, what's going to happen?
They'll learn the division for the test and then forget it afterwards.
Will they learn a division for the test?
That's a good point too. They probably won't even get that far.
No, they're still finger counting. They're still, haven't mastered a multiplication table. So are we going to put our name and reputation on the line for, $400 or $500 in private lessons for that person? We have to set the expectations. This is not what we do. This is what everybody else does. We're still going to talk about foundational skills. We're still going to take that student through an assessment and then work and focus 40 minutes of the session on finger counting. I understand they may have a test in 2 days, but that's not what we do. We do not Band-Aid students. Your student needs long-term care. We need to assess them. They need to start with curing their finger counting. And then do we all know how math works? We learn to count, then add, subtract, eventually multiply, divide, fractions, decimals, percents. And so everybody has that Ripples poster in their lobby. And so use it. That's how it works. That's why we're all here. That's, our core is to teach math in a way that makes sense to children, but in a sequential order with appropriately challenging material. What that means is you put long division in front of a student that's still finger counting. Have we all done this before? I mean, Sal, Don, you guys got 10 years of experience between you. How painful is it to work on long division with that student if you're going straight to long division?
Yeah, it's pretty difficult if the skills aren't there and they're not working on their facts from before. The finger counting, it's true. Like just basic grouping, it's really important for concepts that move on from there, like the multiplication division. So
yeah, I mean, you're talking 2 and 3 digit division. I mean, you have to know how to round. You have to have a feel of numbers. You have to know, how many 12s are in this number, right? I mean, if you have no clue what 12 is really, even visually, that it's 10 plus 2, how can you know how many 10s and 2s? It's almost impossible, right? And so this is what we have to explain to parents. So we're going to explain math is sequential. Everything we learn, we build on. Everything we learn in math, we have to have a prerequisite skills for. And so you can show that however way you want, right? Obviously if you're talking to an engineering, aerospace engineer in front of you, you're not going to explain it in this way, right? And so just understand who you're speaking to. You're speaking to someone who barely speaks English. English is a second language. English is a barrier. You're going to use smaller words and slower words and speak lower and slower, right? So just be aware of those things, okay? Now, if you're talking to a parent of a 4th grader, we're not going to talk about percents and integers. We're going to talk about counting, addition, subtraction, eventually multiplication, division, fraction, right? But if you're talking to a parent about Algebra 1, Algebra 2, you're going to talk about the pre-algebra skills, starting with fractions, decimals, percents, integers, order of operations, et cetera, right? And so those are the major gaps that usually happen. So once you explain that math is sequential, foundational skills are crucial to student success, you're then going to talk about, that's what we do. We go after long-term mastery of skills. Our students know what they're doing, okay? We're going to do all of these things by customizing a learning plan based on a detailed oral and written assessment. So we assess them, we identify exactly where their gaps are, we customize a learning plan for them to address those gaps. But how special are we? We don't just say we're going to work on foundational skills only, like Sylvan and Huntington and Kumon. We're actually going to try to help with the immediate concerns, which of course are grades in school and homework. So we're going to break up our hour, 40 minutes of the hour for the younger students. We're going to spend on working on those core skills, foundational skills, which are eventually going to make that 20-minute homework session much easier because we're going to fill in those foundational gaps. Eventually, 2 to 3 times a week, over time, we're going to catch up. Homework is then much, much easier. And then we're at level. And then now we start moving forward to looking at getting ahead and being a year or two ahead of our classmates. Okay? So for the Mathnasium hour, for the algebra and higher, we allow our students to stay up to an hour and a half. And we use our 50-50 model. So 50% of the time, we're going to work on their foundational skills. 50% we're going to work on their homework, tests, schoolwork, basically. But we also, don't forget, work on our workout book. Can anybody tell me what our workout books are designed to do?
Reinforce number sense?
Or teach, right? So in a lot of situations, there's no number sense at all, right? And so we're teaching number sense, exactly. So that's really, really important. Can anybody tell me what number sense is? Can you give me an example of a student that has good number sense?
Is it like if they know that 3 and 3 together is 6, things like that? Like,
so number sense is having the ability to recognize and break down and put together numbers. I hope everyone at the table here or on our conference here can do 99 plus 99 plus 99. But how do we do the 99 plus 99 plus 99? So that's one of the classic examples of doing that. Can you explain to Mathnasium or a student that has good number sense how they would do that?
So what we would first do is we can recognize that 99 is just 100 minus 1. So we have 3 99s, therefore it's 100 plus 100 plus 100. Therefore also we have minus 1 minus 1 minus 1. So it's 100, 200, 300, minus 1 is 299, 298, 297.
Exactly. So that is good number sense. So of course, if I say 97 plus 98 plus 99, immediately I have that number sense. So I know I'm going to go 3, 2, 1. That's 6 from 300 is 294, right? So percents are explained the same way. You know, if someone asks you what 7% of 250 is, a Kumon student that's been there for many years knows how to get this answer, but guess how they're going to do it, guys? They're going to do 0.07 times 250, and if you do it mentally, oh man. But a Mathnasium student is supposed to know 7 for each 100. So 7 is 14 plus 3.5 is 17.5, right? So that's what number sense is. So parents want number sense for their kids, and you want to explain that the workout books are crucial for that. Now they're also going to talk about, teach how to read the clock, money. You teach what, the most important life skills also are taught in our workout books, and so they're really, really important. Okay? You're then going to go over our basic center hours, drop-in unlimited attendance benefits. So yeah, our center, we're open 5 days a week or 6 days a week. Here are our hours. The really convenient thing about our program is it's unlimited, so you can attend as many as 5 days a week if you'd like, although it's effective at 2 to 3 days a week. Okay, so it's important to clarify this, because we don't want our kids coming 5 days a week, even though they're able to, because they're just going to burn out. Most of our kids are there, and they're supposed to be there for the long haul. What happens if they come 5 days a week for the first 2 months? They're going to burn out, and then the job is not done. They're not caught up. All right. So they can attend as many days as they want. We recommend 2 to 3 days a week. That's when our program is effective. Okay. You can stop by anytime. You don't need an appointment. We're always scheduled to handle as many students as we have enrolled. And so you don't have to call ahead or anything. So that's really convenient for parents, especially with multiple children. All right. We're going to go over our leadership team and our highly trained instructors. And so we're all highly trained, specifically chosen for our math skills, but then we're trained how to teach math. That's what the Mathnasium method is all about. And then talk about that stuff too. All right. You could talk about many of the different things. So these are just a few of the most important things. Are these the only tailor your response answers that you possibly can answer to? No. Okay. If you have not watched the Mathnasium, anybody here not watched the Larry Martinek video on the homepage? Weston, you guys are newer. Have you guys watched it?
What is that? Well, yeah, we're not entirely sure. Maybe we have.
Now, Mathnasium.com. Do you know the story about Mathnasium, Larry Martinek, why it was created? Anything about his?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen it?
I've seen it. Yeah.
I haven't.
You haven't?
Yeah. No.
Gotta see it.
If you have not seen it, you need to jump on Mathnasium.com homepage and watch it so you understand why we're here, what we're all doing, why we're helping tens of thousands of kids, in the memory of Nick. Okay? So you need to understand what we do, how we do it, why we do it, because you're a very, very important part of it. You're the reason we all have the success that we have. You're the reason why we changed so many lives. If you haven't jumped on the website and read some of those testimonials, talk to your parents of your own kids. If you're newer, you haven't seen the actual results yet of what happens to a student on Mathnasium curriculum for 4, 6, 8 months, a couple of years. So if you haven't, jump on the website and read some of those testimonials and find out more about our program so you understand how crucially important you are in making sure that happens and how much you can affect children's lives in a positive way. Okay, so make sure we watch that video. And if you have not read our parent pack, you need to read that parent pack also before you start doing some of these things so you understand exactly what to go over. So, again, there's many, many different benefits that you're going to go over. These are just a few of them. On our pricing sheet, there's a bunch of other benefits that explain, okay, on the month to month, we just start to touch the surface here. So does everybody have the pricing sheet in front of them? Has anyone not seen the pricing sheet?
Should I ask Amy? Yeah.
If you want to just grab it real quick, if you've never seen it, we'll briefly go over it.
Yeah, Natasha's got to get a couple of those.
You talking, Caitlin?
No, she's talking to me. I was asking who was on here. I'm curious.
We have mostly everybody up here, is pretty experienced. Allison, Oren, Donnie, and Sal, I think you guys, this is your first time doing any of this, right? All right, so pricing sheet. Okay, so these are some other benefits too. And when you go over the pricing and the benefits of the program, you usually only want to focus on the 6 and 12. 99% of our clientele is on 6 and 12 because what can you possibly actually accomplish in a month-to-month situation? And remember, we're setting proper expectations. We're not taking on parents that want the quick fix because we're going to say there's no quick fix here. If the parents already told you that their kid's 2 and 3 years behind, how long is it going to take them? Is a month-to-month going to help a student that's 2 and 3 years behind? Or are they going to be sorely disappointed? Oren?
Oh, they're going to be very disappointed because we cannot fix anything on a month-to-month that way unless they decide month-to-month they're going to stay here for 24 months.
Exactly. And that's not obviously very cost efficient for them. And
right.
Remember, guys, on an hour, or in an hour, we're spending 40 minutes on their foundational skills. So if they're looking for that quick fix in 2, 3, 4 weeks, that's not going to happen because we're not trying to Band-Aid anything. We want the parents that are serious about fixing this permanently, once and for all, instead of just falling further and further behind. Okay? All right, so we'll have tailored our response. All right, so now, okay, so have them come in as the next step. So of course, again, the next step would be either to sign up. We've now just gone over the pricing, 6 or 12 months. If they're pre-algebra or algebra, we're only gonna go over the, again, the tailored response. So if they're in high school, you're going to review the high school rates. If they're in 3rd grade, 6th grade, pre-algebra, we're going to review that, all right? And then next, the most important thing is to actually ask for the next step. So can we just go briefly over how do we ask for the next step? Jessica? Oh, you're muted. Hold on.
Reviewing the price sheet. And then like from when we review the price sheet with them, then to like schedule an assessment or do a center visit or something like that. Is that what you're asking how to do?
How does it happen?
Sorry?
How does it actually happen? How do we schedule an assessment?
Oh, we could ask something like, well, when would you like to come in? We can see exactly what your child is struggling with, where their gaps might be by doing an assessment on them.
Yep. So that's exactly, guys. This doesn't happen on its own. You don't just present this information and you give them the parent pack and say, thank you, appreciate it. You've only done 3 of those steps then. The 4th step is to actually have them come in, and this involves a question. Okay? When would you like to get started?
But, Mo, I just think we ought to have mindset that we should always assume the close.
That is a great point, Oren, and why? Can you tell me why?
Because we know that if we can get people in the door, we are going to close the vast majority of them. So we just assume that we're going to get them in here for an assessment and they're going to sign up. And so we should not give them the opportunity to think their way out of it. We should go ahead and make that assumption for them that, okay, you're coming in for an assessment, let's schedule it, boom, and take an aggressive attitude regarding, okay, we know what we can do for your child.
Exactly. That's a perfect point. So it's on here as assume that what you want to happen is going to happen and be confident. And let me tell you why that is, okay? We know we have absolutely no competition in this business right now. Our competition is usually private tutoring. Private tutoring does nothing like what we do. Private tutoring does not have 12,000 sheets of curriculum, personalized assessments, 38 years worth of Larry's curriculum. They do not have 10 local centers in their organization. They're not number 1 in the world as an organization. They do not have 610 centers in the US. They don't have 700 centers across 14 countries in the world. Most importantly, most of our competition Band-Aids. We are the only people that have this approach of working on their foundational skills and help with their immediate homework in a great environment where we care about our kids with highly specialized instructors. I mean, nobody out there does this, guys. So when Oren says have the confidence, you got to have the confidence. If we can't fix it, no one out there can. It's just that pure and simple. And if you find an alternative solution to our program, I'd love to see it. Because there are people out there that do one or the other or part of this or part of that, but nobody does it like we do. And so the confidence needs to be there. And then now it's not hard because we don't even charge for the assessment. I'll tell you what, why don't you bring in your student? It's a complimentary assessment. You will know exactly where you stand, and then you could choose to customize a learning plan with them for it. So I say things like, it's going to take an hour of your time, so you know exactly what you're dealing with. Should you choose to move forward with us, great, we'll customize a learning plan. Should you choose to do somebody else, at least you'll have the report so you can take to them and tell them, this is what my child needs, right? So I have the confidence to say that because if they take that assessment report to a private tutor, what can that private tutor do about it? Nothing. That's nice. You know, do they have the, you know, curriculum to back up the, you know, all the different points that they need to fix? Absolutely not. So have the confidence in saying it's going to be an hour of their time. It's going to tell us exactly where we need to be. Should you choose to move forward with us, great. We can help you. If not, at least you'll know where to start. Okay. And parents appreciate that. All right. So Jessica said we need to ask. So we absolutely need to ask. When are you available for an assessment is a good answer or a good question. But what will happen to parents that are super, super busy with that? And we've had it happen before. They go, okay, what about Tuesday? Oh no, that's karate. What about gymnastics? That's what, I'll just call you back. I can't make a decision right now, right? So what a better way to ask this would be, okay, great. And so I have openings on Tuesday and Thursday for our assessments. What day is better for you? Simple, in control, and the parents are like, oh, Tuesday, Thursday, I can't do either. Okay, well, how about Wednesday or Saturday morning? Right? Okay, so much better, all right? Saturday morning's great. Awesome, I have an opening at 10 o'clock and at 11:30. What's better for you? All right, so it's just a little bit better. It keeps you in control of the conversation, but it also gives them control of, and everybody wins. It's a win-win situation, right? Because you're in control, they're making a decision. All right. Now, really, there's no preference. You know, you could set up a trial session. That's another, you know, option. But really, with a complimentary assessment now, it does not make sense. Okay. Let me go back to pricing. I don't know if you guys grabbed the recent pricing, if it's been printed yet or not. Starting tomorrow, we are going to the complimentary assessments, but with a $149 enrollment fee should they choose to enroll, and then the program. Very simple, no assessment fee, no registration fee anymore. It's a complimentary assessment and then an enrollment fee. The enrollment fee covers their binders, curriculum, assessment reviews, post-assessment for a lifetime. It's just a one-time fee. Any questions on that? And if your center director hasn't printed the new paperwork, you need to remind them immediately. All right. All right. So 100% of kids need our program because we are the best. We've gone over exactly why. And you need to know and have that confidence. And most of that information is in the parent packs. Okay. All right. Don't oversell, meaning if they're ready to schedule that assessment, schedule the assessment. Okay. Get the time, get the date. When you guys go to these meet the parents, you need to have a full laid out calendar with your center director. You're going to schedule 40 of these things, 50 of these things in a 3 or 4 day period. So you need to find out and have a plan with your center director. Is it every half hour? Is it 2 every half hour? Is it 2 on the hour? Which week are we doing these assessments? And have a pre-printed calendar for the next 2 weeks with the slots available. So you can, all you have to do is have the slots available and fill them right in. All right. So don't forget to talk to your CD on a plan. Walking in there, you need to have a laid out calendar of when you could slot these complimentary assessments. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to skip the buying signals. These are some objections. And this needs to be changed. Okay, so some objections. Your price is too high. There's a couple of ways you can approach this. We're changing it now to where I would now say, I learned this at the convention, something like this. I understand that you're looking for value for your money. Many have felt like this before, but we have thousands of people that have come into our program, have tried it out, and have seen the value in the program fees. All right? So I'm happy to offer you a complimentary session so you could come in, try out the program, and see exactly if this is going to be the best for you or not. Or I mean, I don't like this as much anymore. Obviously, may I ask what that's compared to? Because some people have just not done the math. They're used to paying $30, $40, $60, $70, $80 a session, an hour. But we are the least expensive option in town, guys. If they're coming just twice a week and the private tutors out there charge 40, 50 bucks an hour, I mean, do the math. 40 bucks an hour twice a week is 80 bucks times 4 is $320. They're already, higher than us on the lower end. For an algebra or geometry tutor, it's 60, 70 bucks an hour. And then again, do the math. So they may just simply not, because we're charging per month, nobody out there charges per month. So just divide it out or read the hourly rate right off of your price sheet. It's broken down. So if you see it says $259 a month, if they attend so and so many hours, it's only so much per hour. All right. I'm not sure he or she will like it. Same thing. Obviously, look, I'm specially trained. I know they will like it. I have hundreds of kids in this classroom. I know I can make a middle schooler, a high schooler, an elementary schooler comfortable. Just give me the opportunity. What's the worst thing that can happen? Tell them to bring some homework with them. And instead of struggling at home for an hour and a half with their homework, they come in here and knock it out with me in an hour. And they get to see me, meet me, my staff, my instructors, and my curriculum. All right? But that only comes with confidence, guys. Have you ever faced a student that you couldn't turn around? You're on this screen with me. You're on here with me because you're the best at what you do. So have you ever had to give up on a student and not be able to help them and make them feel more comfortable? I have the confidence in you to be able to say that. And so you should have the confidence in yourself to be able to say that too. Let me attempt it. I'm confident. I know I can make them feel leave smiling at the end of the session, because at the end of the day, what are they looking for, guys? These guys have struggled for a really long time. They've been judged. They've been, they've had people roll their eyes at them. They've had people huff and puff and get frustrated. None of you do that. And so immediately within an hour, they're going to notice that you're different. You're not going to judge them. You're not going to make fun of them. You're not going to laugh at them. You're going to be very patient with them, and you're going to help them. So what we do is not magic. It's just what we do. And so everybody can copy our formula if they wanted to, but they don't, right? So be confident in the ability to be able to do that, and just have them come in for an hour. All right. I just want pricing. I normally affirm them right away. Absolutely. I'd love to give you the pricing. It just takes me a few minutes to go over the program details, and then I'd be happy to give you the pricing. Okay. So if that person calls and says, "Hi, how much is your program?" I go, "What would you say in that situation?"
Just stress that there's more than one program and how each one has a different pricing structure based on tailored to the student. So you'd have to get more information for the student.
That's a good one. That may be my second attempt, but the first attempt, I'm just gonna go right over here. So, hi, I'm looking to get your program information. Oh, great, I'd love to help you out with that. My name is Mo, I'm the center director, and you are? Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you take control. You go right back to exactly the way you do it, right? And then if they then interrupt you a second time or a third time, that's when I'm going to say, well, great, I'd love to give you that information. It does take a few minutes. Our programs are customized. We have many different options. So I just have some questions to ask you, and I'd be happy to go over the pricing in a few minutes when I can recommend a program for you, right? Because it's true. Are you recommending an hour of private, 5 hours of private, 10 hours of private? Or is it pre-algebra and below? Is it algebra and higher? Is it enrichment program, which we have, right? Or is it a combination of all of them, right? It's not a pizza. You can't just hand out that price sheet without having explained what comes with it, right? And create the value in a program. All right, what else? Okay. When can we get started? We just get started. I just want pricing. Again, we talked about, it does take a few minutes. All right. Okay, great. I need to talk to my husband and wife. You can normally say, well, great. Would you like me to talk to them? Now, you guys are being trained to be able to answer all these questions. Do you want someone else presenting the program information for you that you're going to train so hard to be able to do? they're taking your jobs, right? And what are they going to reduce it to? They're going to reduce it to about 2 sentences, including the price. Where for you, it takes 5 to 10 minutes to go over the program details. So I will normally say, would you like me to do it? I can give them a call. Or is there a good time where you all could come in? Maybe you, your husband, and your son. I can go over the program details while we assess your son or daughter. It's complimentary, right? So the great thing now is we've just made this change. It makes your job 100 times easier because it's a complimentary assessment, and I'd be happy to go over the program details while they take their assessment. All right? It used to be where we charged $149 for the assessment, and so you have to convince them in the value in the assessment. You still have to convince them in the value of the assessment because you have to justify the hour that they're going to spend in your center, but at least now they're not paying for it up front. All right? So how are we different from our competitors? I think we've pretty much discussed that. We're the only ones that do what we do, how we do it, right? So can anybody help them with math? But you will not find another one that specializes in just math, can pinpoint exactly where the problem is, will build an individualized learning plan for your student, actually teach students to think rather than just do, helps with homework, makes it easy to attend, and does it all at an affordable price. You have the confidence. Nobody out there does this, guys. So be sure of that. Be confident in it, okay? Who are our instructors? Our instructors are a combination of certified as well as college students working on their various degrees. The most important thing is that they love math. They're good at math. They like teaching kids. And we train them. So they're people. They're people that you want around your kids. All right? So that's every one of you. All right? Is this one-on-one? You'll hear this a lot. And we are an individualized learning plan. So yes, we teach in an individualized manner since every one of our students has their own customized learning plan, but it is in a group of up to 4 to 1. Okay? And why is our program more effective than private tutoring? Can anybody tell me? Is it good to have one-on-one?
No, it creates dependence. We want independence.
Exactly. So private tutors usually sit there, and as soon as, this is why we use teacher move on method, where you teach and then you move on and give them an opportunity to make mistakes or arrive at the answer correctly on their own. Both are perfectly fine and they're part of learning. What a private tutor unfortunately does, or mom and dad when they're working with their child, biggest mistake they do. Student starts to work, and as soon as they put the wrong number down or don't forget to carry. Why'd you do that? And what is that person actually learning, right? And is that person going to be there the next day on a test, giving them that information? No, unfortunately not. So individual curriculums in a group setting where they get an opportunity to make mistakes, arrive at the answers. We train them on how to arrive at the answer, so that increases their confidence. So the benefit of our program or Teach and Move On versus private one-on-one is increased confidence, but most importantly, it helps lower your test anxiety because they're training themselves so much to arrive at the answers on their own that when it comes to test time, they're confident in their ability, not waiting on someone to be there. Okay, so this is the quick version. Again, this usually takes 12 to 14 hours, so sorry we had to breeze through it, but questions?
Did I miss anything during the power outage?
Oh, did we, which part, where did you leave?
I think, oh man.
Well, go back and read the slides and then let me know if you have any questions. Do you have access to the slide?
I don't know. Maybe Caitlin does.
One apart.
Okie dokes. Okie dokes.
All right, any questions at all? Donnie, Sal?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
Do you recommend talking about money and pricing before having, like, scheduling an assessment?
Yeah, we don't mind going over money and pricing when you follow the process. So you'll see here, if we make them feel comfortable, and we ask all the questions that we can on here. You can cross off all the answers and everything that you need. Tailor your response. So you start with math sequential, and you are able to spend a good 5 to 8 to 10 minutes creating value in the program. You'll see that the pricing is down here, and then you're able to give pricing.
Okay.
So my preference is for you not to have given anyone pricing at all, rather than give someone pricing without having explained and created the value.
Right.
The reason for that is, if they think that we're expensive because you didn't explain that we're unlimited and, drop-in and all the hundreds of benefits of how we can create, so if they think they're expensive, they may tell 10 people we're expensive. But if they don't give you the time to create the value and walk out without the pricing, then it's only them, right? So I don't want people out there talking about that we're expensive because they don't understand what we do.
Okay.
Great question.
Thank you.
Who else? I know there's a lot of questions out there.
Could you not, Caitlin? I'm trying to use stickers.
No, that's it. All right. Well, let's have a good day, everyone. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you're interested in doing this full entire training, we're doing it next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's a 4-part training. And it's going to go over a lot more details, how to go over assessments, how to follow up with people, how to do it on the phone, how to do a trial, how to do an assessment. It's very detailed. Ask your center director, and we'll schedule you to do it next week. Have a great day, everyone.